Hey, what's up guys? So today I am working on a project that I've been putting off for a very long time, and that is reorganizing my bookshelves. I currently have books in a couple of different places throughout our home, and it has gotten out of hand, and I keep avoiding it, and I think, I get overwhelmed and then I think that I fixed it, but I haven't actually created more room. I've just organized the books that are already there, so when I buy new books, it just becomes another issue again. So I am going to finally tackle these bookshelves and set them up in a way that is functional for future me. And it might not make sense to anyone else, but I'm going to organize them in a way that makes sense to me. So I went ahead and I already cleared off the bottom shelf here and about half a bookshelf just with books that we don't really need. They're more like reference books. So they're in storage where we can access them when we need them, but we don't really pick them up on a consistent basis, so don't feel like they need to be out. So those have been packed up. I have a whole shelf to work with. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get most of the books and bring them in here and sort them out, and then maybe put them back on the bookshelf. I don't know. Let me show you what I have to work with. So over here we have the main bookshelves, and this is where pretty much most of my books exist because it's the most space I have. So over here we have like mainly rom-coms, mysteries, and thrillers with random stuff thrown in. All right, none of it's really organized, but for the most part, that's the point of the shelf. Then over here we have more of literary fiction and classics all here, with more classics down here. And this is more like religion, philosophy. I mean, you have some like C.S. Lewis, you have Bradbury, and then a lot of Penguin's classics. So kind of a Mod Podge, but makes sense to me in my mind. And then here we have fantasy / mythology, but mainly modern mythology, so like retellings. And then down here we have children / YA, so we have like Ink Spell, Ink Death, I think Ink Heart is like right there. Divergent, The Penderwicks, Redwall, classics, you can't go wrong. And then over here we have nonfiction, and I also had some history books, but I've moved them down to this shelf, and this shelf is kind of like, it's a mess, but nothing on this shelf is going to be moved because this is just where those things go. So now I have about like a quarter of a shelf and a whole one that's empty. And at some point we're going to replace these bookshelves. I have one that's still in my parents' house that just haven't gone from them yet. But for now, this is what we're working with. And then over here we have more of like a decorative shelf, but I think I want to redo this. I have some towels out because we had some guests stay with us a couple weekends ago, and we're going to have more guests stay with us here soon. But I might end up putting that somewhere else and clearing up a whole nother bookshelf. We'll see. But over here we have all of our Rick Riordan books, classics, love them, they deserve a moment. This is just decorative. It's The Princess Bride Still Life, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And then a collection of short stories that are inspired by the city of Charleston, South Carolina. And then these are kind of like my anthologies, I guess. Like, I didn't mean to put them together, but they just kind of happened to. It's my collection of Ray Bradbury stories, all of the works by Mark Twain, the poetry of Pablo Neruda, and then the Gormenghast novels. And then this is our like decorative bookshelf that we keep in the office area. I don't think I'm going to touch any of these books because this is not really meant for books. This is meant for things. So we have some classics up here, more classics, Lewis Carroll, my illustrated Lord of the Rings, my Bronte sister box set, more random books, and then my Sarah J. Maas collection with one spot left for Crescent City 3. So excited for that, January 30th. Cannot get here fast enough. But I think this is all going to stay pretty much the same. These books are just books I don't know what to do with, so those will be moved at some point. And I have a vision of like stacking books on my piano, which I think would look kind of cool, but I think I would need to like really commit to that in order to make it look not dumb. So we'll see, maybe one day. And then over here we just have like a Mod Podge of books. None of this makes sense. None of these books go together. I don't know what's happened over here. This has become a mess. But I do know that I'm gonna leave the Harry Potter books where they are because I like them there. I like them in one spot, and I'm not gonna move that. And then obviously once Christmas is over, these decorations will come down and I'll have a little bit more space on my shelves, so that will be nice. So that is pretty much all of the books I have kind of scattered all over the apartment. I have like some that are still on my nightstand because I'm reading them, so I'm not going to worry about those, but I think the first step is going to be taking everything off the shelves. I already don't want to do this. Taking everything off the shelves and then organizing them in stacks and then deciding what to put where. What I would like is for these shelves over here to be more like display shelves, like for books that I really love, or, you know, books that look beautiful. So, we'll see. That was only like 30 seconds worth of work and I'm already sweaty. It's great. Okay, so that is everything off of those shelves. And like I said, nothing is going to be coming off of these shelves. So I think this room has been moved. Okay, so over here we have YA-ish books. I'm keeping authors together, so if they break genres, I keep them with the most common genre. So John Green is going to be kept together. I'm just going to put the Anthropocene Reviewed with YA, even though it's not technically YA. Whatever, it makes sense. Then we have literary fiction, dark, academia, mystery, thriller, one romance, a lot of fantasy, sci-fi, mythology over here, some like non-fiction books right here, and then these are classics. So now I have those shelves completely empty. And now I just need to sort all of these. It's easy. Okay, so I think I want to start with children/YA. I'll go ahead and pull out all of the fantasy books that I want to keep with the fantasy section. And then I think everything's going to go on this bottom left shelf because they're not books I go for really often, so let's do it. Okay, right off the bat, I don't know. If you can't tell, I have loved this book very much since I've owned it 12 years ago. Honestly, no. How old am I? 26. I think I got this book when I was 11. So 15 years ago. I've always loved this book. It is more YA than fantasy though. And I think I have The Thief Lord by the same author. And that needs to stay with YA for sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this with YA. Honestly, these books I could get rid of. I liked the first one a lot, and unpopular opinion, I really liked the movie. But the second book, never finished. Maybe I did finish. I honestly couldn't tell you what happened. Divergent. I'm going to say, has the poster in it. Oh my gosh, hello. I didn't know I had a poster. I think I'm gonna put it with fantasy. Ooh, yeah, I'll put with fantasy. I think that's all I feel the need to put with fantasy. I think everything else can stay YA. I'm conflicted because I think I might want to display my John Green books because I love John Green and everything he writes is fantastic and everything he says is gold. So I think I'm going to pull these out so I can display them. Fun fact, Paper Towns, the movie, was filmed in my hometown, right? So cool. I never met him because I didn't want to stalk him while he was working, but I kind of wish I had been that person. But this book is signed. So, no big deal. I just realized I have two other stacks of YA books, and I thought that was it, and I was wrong. I actually have all of these. You can't see it, but I have all of these. So, that's great. Awesome. I'm gonna put these up first though. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll have children, then YA fantasy, and then the rest of the fantasy books. Because this is a lot of fantasy books that I don't feel like necessarily need to be sorted with one genre versus the other. I'm gonna try it. I think I'm gonna try it that way. Let's try it. Okay, so the more I do this, the more I'm starting to feel like none of this is making sense. So I think I'm gonna take a break. I'm going to eat something because I'm getting hangry, and then I'll come back and we'll see how it goes. Okay, that took so much longer than I thought it would, and it was very stressful, and I had a mini breakdown about it. But I think it's done, and I hate it so much. I just like it more than I think. Well, okay, I just like it right now because I'm not used to it, but I did make more space, and I think that that is what matters the most. So I took a break, I ate some dinner, I changed into some leggings and threw my hair up, and I felt better. So here's what I have so far, and I might change this in like the coming days as I get more comfortable with it, but for now, here's what I have. So let's start at the bottom. So down here we have all of our children slash YA books, leading up to more of our YA fantasy, leading up to a little bit more YA fantasy kind of bled in. And then this is more of like our gothic fantasy. It's not like, some of these I wouldn't say are full out fantasy, but they are definitely like fantastic realism, like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So that's kind of what this stack is. Then we have our high fantasy, or like more traditional fantasy. So obviously Brandon Sanderson. We have R.F. Kuang's The Poppy War. I'm leaving some space on the shelf because I have some books that I'm reading right now that are going to end up on the shelf. And then over here we have our few sci-fi tech books. And this book is like Star Wars A New Hope. So it's like the first original or the fourth in order of the storyline, as if it was written by William Shakespeare. And it goes through the entire movie and literally takes the script and rewrites it as if it was Shakespeare, which is super funny. So it's not really a book that I would read, but it technically is sci-fi, so that's why it's there. And then up here we have our like mythical fantasy, and then more of our like romantasy series. Like these are obviously like full-on fantasy, but the romance is a pretty big plot. And then that was really so I could segue into the X-Hex, which leads us into our romance. Then over here we have literary fiction, like maybe a little bit more like romance heavy, right here. And then more literary fiction. We have some cozy mysteries, then suspense, thriller, murder mystery here. And then this is where it starts to get kind of messy, to be honest. So these are a lot of my classic literature slash poetry books. They're all on this shelf. And then these are my Penguins classics all together. I try to keep them by publisher, like if the spine was very similar. So even if they're not necessarily the same genre, I'm just left them together. And then more like philosophy stuff over here. And then on this shelf, we have more classics that just didn't really have a place to put them. And then my nonfiction is kind of spread out over here. And this shelf has not changed at all. Sarah J. Maas is still down there. These are more of my display books. And this is the shelf that I think has changed the most. I left Harry Potter where it was because I like it there. I left these books where they were because they're really just there to hold up this decorations. But here we have some of my favorite fantasy, or my favorite looking fantasies. I just think like the covers of those are really pretty. Down here we have my John Green books, and then some like commentary slash memoir biographies. So it doesn't like really go together, but really it's the Anthropocene Reviewed that makes me feel like this all kind of goes together. And then down here we have some of my favorite classics. The Snows of Kilimanjaro by Ernest Hemingway, one of my favorite short story collections. 84 Charing Cross Road, which is this really cute collection of letters between this American writer and a bookstore in London that like curates antique books that are like kind of hard to find. And so it's a really cute book. Tree Grows in Brooklyn, Flannery O'Connor's The Complete Stories, Ernest Hemingway, P.G. Wodehouse, Pride and Prejudice, Little Women, and then here are like my more modern fiction books that I want to display. So Still Life by Sarah Winman, one of the best books I've ever read. The Island of Sea Women, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. If We Were Villains and The Goldfinch I have not read yet, but I have read The Secret History by Dawn Tart, and I feel like they all have to go together. So I'll make the rules. So that is everything over here. That is all of my books, sort of organized, maybe a little bit less organized than before, but I will say I definitely made more room and it doesn't feel as cramped, which is really nice when you're going to look for a book and you're not having to like dig it off the shelf. So I'm very excited about that. This was probably one of the most exhausting things I've ever done. I feel like I need to take a nap. I feel like I need to go to sleep. My back hurts. I'm tired. I'm grumpy. So that was that. You know what? Now I remember why I was putting that off for so long. So yeah, that was exhausting, but I'm glad that it's all done. And I hope that you enjoyed getting to come along with me on this very, very long journey that was organizing my bookshelves. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you next time. Bye!